But in this one, I'm going to try to cover multiple stories that all relate to what's going on with the presidential primaries and elections, basically, leading up to the presidential election here in November. And with that said, let's just go ahead and get into the first one. From Daily Mail, Donald Trump beats Nikki Haley again in Michigan Republican presidential primary. Ex-president carries on full steam ahead to a Biden rematch as his final rival defiantly stays in the race and insists he cannot win. So voters in Michigan headed to the polls Tuesday with President Donald Trump and rival Nikki Haley on the Republican ballot. I mean, I guess if you want to call them rivals, you can, but to me, a rivalry is where both teams actually win games against each other. Not where one team just completely demolishes the other one like Trump has been doing to Nikki Haley this entire time. But the race was called for Trump immediately after the polls in the state closed. And Haley has already said she will stay in the race at least until Super Tuesday, which is March 5th. That's this coming Tuesday. But anybody that's paying attention knows that she's only hanging around because she's getting supported by Democrat voters in states where you don't have to register Republican or Democrat to actually go vote in the primaries. Also, she's hoping that something will happen with Trump with all of his court cases, that he will be removed from a ballot in one of the states or prevented from running or whatever, and that she can end up being the default candidate. But from what I've just learned, candidates that suspend their presidential campaigns can actually unsuspend their presidential campaign. So a guy like Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy could actually re-enter the race. I could be wrong, but judging from this precedent on the Democrat side, as Democrat Marianne Williamson unsuspends her 2024 presidential campaign and she calls the race a car crash in slow motion. Democrat presidential candidate Marianne Williamson said Wednesday morning she is back in the 2024 race just 3 weeks after announcing she was suspending her campaign, calling GOP frontrunner Donald Trump a fascist and claiming President Biden is unable to defeat him in November. The best-selling author and help guru received 3% of the vote in Michigan's Democratic primary Tuesday, ahead of Biden challenger Dean Phillips, who could only manage 2.7%. As of today, I am unsuspending my campaign for the presidency of the United States. I had suspended it because I was losing a horse race, but something so much more important than the horse race is at stake here, Williamson said on X, arguing that, quote, we have a fascist standing at the door. Well, I would disagree with that, but to each your own, I guess. But also, speaking of the Michigan primary, Democrats are also voting. From the New York Post, Biden plagued by uncommitted voters in Michigan primary after protest vote delivers 5 times more than Obama in 2012. President Biden easily won Michigan's Democratic primary Tuesday night, but his support was impacted by an anti-Israel protest movement calling for voters to fill in uncommitted. With 98.5% of the expected vote in, Biden had 81.1% support, while rivals Marianne Williamson, who we just spoke about, and Dean Phillips garnered 3 and 2.7% respectively. Uncommitted received 13.3% of the vote, above the 10.7% it garnered when Barack Obama ran unopposed in the 2012 primary. But the kicker in that is this part, right? The raw vote total was even more striking, with more than 100,000 uncommitted votes tallied as of 8:30 a.m. Wednesday, compared to only 21,000 12 years ago. So 5 times the amount of people came out and voted this year than they did 12 years ago for Barack Obama. The ground zero of support for the uncommitted vote was Wayne County, home to the largest Arab American community in the country, based on the Detroit suburb of Dearborn. I believe that is the Muslim American community. But that is where more than 26,000 Democratic voters made their protest. But only 26,000 of 100,000. That's pretty impressive. Just goes to show that spread across the state. One thing also to consider in this, switching back over to the Republican side, is a lot of those votes that are for Nikki Haley are people that are actually going to vote for Biden when it comes to November. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, it seems it's definitely time for Nikki Haley to suspend her campaign. She's wasting resources, and it's not going to help her in the end, because like what we saw from Marianne Williamson, that Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy could very well unsuspend their campaign, from what I understand, and be back in the race. So there's no becoming the last man standing default candidate for Nikki Haley if something were to happen to Trump, which we'll pray nothing does. And it is looking like one of those cases could go away very soon, with Fani Willis and her lover, Nathan Wade, former lover, both seemingly lying on the witness stand, perjuring themselves. It looks like a slam dunk in that the Judge McAfee, is going to disqualify Fani Willis and her office from this case. And going forward, I don't think anybody else in the other office is going to, right now, it's looking like, pick up the case. Such a publicized, important case that has this huge blemish left by Fani Willis. And if they did, it most certainly won't be resolved before the election in November. But anyways, with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Let me know in the comments if you like this format better than the old format. If you haven't seen any of the old ones, go check them out. And then come back here and let me know what you think, good or bad. And other than that, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.